If there is one really important thing when you start your own business or you decide to change your life, it's so this is fundamental.
And I was thinking very recently, if you spend time all the time around people complaining about the weather, you're going to be really good at complaining about the weather. You're going to know all the words. You're going to have all the vocabulary. You can know everything.
I mean, everything is so fast, and we are not used anymore to fight for our dreams. You have to be patient, really patient. That's something.
Nods, like, smile and wave, like you understand everything, and then you end up not knowing anything. It's like, oh, what do I do now?
Yes.
Let me tell you a fun fact about our podcast. We're at the beginning process and you can have a tremendous influence over our channel. By just liking and subscribing to our channel, you'll help us increase the quality of the videos that we're creating. Also, you'll stay in the loop with the new videos which are coming every week. Thank you and enjoy the episode.
Hello, everyone. I'm really grateful to have Monica with us today. She is an entrepreneur and a world traveler, and she managed to do something extraordinary, which is to turn her passion into a business. And that's something I'm going to talk about today. Welcome, Monica.
Thank you so much, Octavian.
The first thing that I want to talk to you today, the obvious question that everybody might have, which is, how do you turn your back on a stable 9-to-5 job that offers you stability and flow cash, and then you decide, I'm just going to jump and do my own thing?
Yes. In my case, I think for everyone is a bit different. No, it's personal. But in my case, I was working in corporate jobs. I've been doing many years. Actually, I did like my job. I was an event and marketing coordinator. But after changing to another company, since I had received a really nice offer, I didn't feel identified at all with that environment. So I felt a bit disappointed about the experience. And after 10 months, I just looked into my life, and I was from outside, and I was not happy anymore. I was losing that charisma that characterizes me. So I just thought that was not right, because at the end, this is our life and we can live it how we want. And also speaking with my environment, with my friends and partners, so they just saw me like losing my passion about life. And so I just thought that I needed a change. I did not know exactly what I was going to do, so I just started wandering around a bit, traveling again, and finding myself. I had the idea of doing something mine since some years, but I hadn't like put all my ideas into like a plan. So it was a bit on the clouds. But I just took some time for myself to travel and think about my life, what I wanted to do, and yes, I when I left the job, when I quit the job, I just took my time to rest a bit mentally, physically, and to understand what the next moves will have been. So that was a bit the process. And then some months later, I just decided. I attended the tourism fair in Madrid, and I connected with some old friends from Puerto Rico. They are entrepreneurs also in the tourism sector. So I just had a strong connection with them. They were just pushing me a lot to do it. And I came back from that trip, that fair, like with a different energy. I was ready to start a new path, and I just started. I don't know exactly how I did it. It wasn't really planned, but I just started organizing the first trip, and that is how it happened. There is no.
That's something really interesting, and I want to connect a bit to what you said, is that sometimes most of the things that are happening in life, especially negative things, are blessing in disguise. And
Mhm.
most people have like good lives that they're not really happy with, but they're not bad enough to make a change. And sometimes you need that thing to happen into your life to challenge you and say, like, I don't want this anymore. I need to
Exactly.
do something different because I realize now that I'm not happy at all. So I think that that challenge that you had with your new job was actually exactly what you needed in order to
Yeah.
be able to push you and to say, okay, I need to make a change now.
I think things happen for a reason. So that was my reason, because maybe if I would have stayed in the same job in the other company for forever, maybe I will not have arrived to this point of like starting my own business. So I think everything has a reason, and I'm happy about that experience now, because at the end I think all the challenges in life are really helpful to push your like dreams, and they lead to something new. So changes are always good, even if at the beginning you don't see the good in that. I think in the if you keep fighting and working on it, you will see like good results. So yeah.
That's amazing. And the next thing I want to talk to you a bit about the uncertainty of starting a new life. But I would like to highlight what you already said in the sense that if you have a challenge and a discomfort with your existing life, being in that life and staying there, it's more displeasing as opposed to the uncertainty. So it's like you have an uncertainty in something which is pretty uncomfortable to do, but it's more uncomfortable to stay in the same spot that you are. So it's like I'm better off into the discomfort of change as opposed to discomfort of staying where I am right now.
Yeah, 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 definitely. Yes.
So how would you say that you've managed to, you know, basing on what I started already, like you already have a bunch of uncomforts. Like you have to start your own business, you have to think about the structure of it, you have to think about how they're going to be delivered to people, what kind of services will you provide. How would you say that was the biggest factor that helped you overcome that challenge?
Let's say at the beginning, it is true that I had this I was helped from the unemployment, sorry. So I had this kind of protection. So I actually could work on my dreams with some kind of yeah, security in that sense. And I know some people, maybe they don't have this opportunity, so I understand that it's something really useful if you want to work on your projects before you start like 100% and you launch your business. You have this kind of protection. So that was helping me, for sure, because at the end, when you start a business, you don't start generating money immediately. You need some time to make it working. So that was a bit what helped me, and yeah. Yeah.
Sounds really good. Another thing that I want to talk to you about is the fact that there is a big mindset. I said that there are two different people, one which is an employed and one's an entrepreneur. And there's a big transition between the mindset of the entrepreneur and the employer, and it's the entrepreneur, because as an employer, you have a task list produced by somebody else, like do those things and you get a bunch of money. As an entrepreneur, you don't have that. You just have a bunch of bills that you need to pay, and then you have to kind of go chase the world and get to make some money. So just talk to me a bit about what was the biggest learning experience that helped you make the transition between the mindset of an employee to the mindset of an entrepreneur.
Something that really surprised me a lot when I started this journey from outside, especially from the social networks, how everything is really it looks really easy and working smoothly. So this is something I'm really I was really curious about at the beginning, and still I am, because at the end you're fighting, and you are figuring it out, and you try to stay motivated and everything. And from outside, especially from these social medias, everything looks really easy, and this is something that makes me really curious about, because you never know the struggle of that person. So now I'm really more conscious about when I see entrepreneurs or digital nomads, and people is like, oh, what a life, they're so lucky. And I always replied, you don't know what this person is going through. So it's something you really have to build and you work and keep with the motivation, because the motivation sometimes it goes down and it disappears. So I would say also they think of like having a routine, some and chasing some habits, having clear habits that help in the moment when your motivation is going away, because sometimes you just lose it. It's normal. We are not machines, so we are constantly changing our mood and our feelings and emotions. So I would say like as a mindset of an entrepreneur, you have to understand that it's not just the motivation, but also the habits you are building, and all this strategy, this yeah, you have to follow a pathway, because sometimes you can just trust your energy, let's say.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one thing, I heard a quote very recently, which I really love, which is goes along the lines of never judge somebody until you walk a mile in their shoes. And
Yeah,
one build up on what I said before, you look on social media, you see people like, oh, they have a bunch of money, they must be really happy. And then when you kind of go into that experience that they had, it's like, well, it's a lot more complex than I initially thought. I just go like, just sit on the beach and then drink a bunch of margaritas, eat cake, and that's it, that's your life. But they don't see the background and the challenge that people have to overcome. Interesting to learn from people without envying them, without thinking like, oh, they have it easier, because you don't know the challenges that people have in their life.
exactly. This is something with social medias nowadays. It's something really, really important and really scary, because at the end, we think everything is so easy. So at the first like obstacle, we want to leave everything, but it's not like that. Every successful person, success is really subjective, let's say, but yeah, every successful person, they have gone through a lot. So just we should be a bit more empathetic with the others in general. I would say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And speaking of success, I know again, with speaking of success and then transition from the employee mindset and the entrepreneur mindset, how did your definition of success changes over the years since you started the business?
Actually, I have to be honest about that. It hasn't changed a lot. Because since many years, I had this idea of success. The success for me is having time to travel, to live the life I really love, to live through my passion, and of course generating enough money to do so. So it seems easy, but it is not. But this was my idea of success many years ago, before I even thought about starting my own business. So I remember when I came back from a trip to the Philippines many years ago. I think it was 2018. I was working in this German company. I actually liked my job as a marketing and event coordinator, but I remember coming back to the office and I was depressed, like shocked. My ex-colleagues were like, okay, are you feeling good? I'm not really good. I don't know what's happening. And I remember that they were worried about me. And then I think in that moment, I started thinking about doing something related to my passion of travels and organizing trips and coordinating. And that's when I contacted a girl from Italy. Now she has a company of a travel agency. And I remember I wanted to collaborate with them in my free time, and started to see. That's when I started changing a bit my mind, and I thought for the first time maybe I could choose another path different from the one I was following in that moment.
It is very interesting as I mentioned that sometimes you can read or somebody can try to pursue you into a different direction for a long time and you never change your mind. And sometimes you just have one experience and then you can't go back to normal life anymore. As mentioned, the trip to the Philippines, I had a similar experience when I moved to Mauritius the first time when I started my Nomad journey. And then I came back and it's like, that was a one-off thing, and I'm gonna come back to London and live my normal life. And it took me a couple of weeks to realize that I can't live that anymore. You can't live the normal life after experiencing something extraordinary, because it's an idea and something it's bothering you in your mind, saying like, I want that, I want more, I want that.
Yeah.
Like, you can't
And
settle
also,
for your normal life anymore.
yes, and also what is normal at the end? Well, I mean, society tells us that normal is something, but at the end, I think we can we can choose. We don't have to follow the same path, the same journey. I see many people that are they are unhappy about their life, and they tell me many times, also friends and people I know, it's like, you are lucky. This is something I really don't accept. Really, it's a sentence I really don't accept. I don't know if the same happens to you sometime, but yeah, lucky. I mean, you're not lucky. You build your life, so you just decide. You can decide how to use your time. Of course, it's not easy to. For me, choosing the path of freedom, following my dreams and doing my own business, and for everyone is not easy. It's probably is the most complicated decision, but
Yeah.
yeah, you have to be courageous at the end. And I know that it's really also related to personality. Everyone has a personality, so it depends a bit on the personality, the experiences, but you can choose. For me, you can't complain if you don't choose, you don't decide to change your life.
And I want to revert a bit to the concept of lucky being called lucky by people, because I've had the similar experience before. And at the beginning of my journey, I was getting really offended by this phrase in itself, because I knew how hard I worked to get where I am, and that people call me lucky. And then it took me a long time to realize that people don't call me lucky because I am lucky. They want to call me lucky because they want to justify their condition and say, like, I have some advantage from somewhere that they didn't have it. So that's why I am where I am and they are where they are. So that means that they've done nothing wrong. It's just that I am a bit luckier. And then you accept the fact that nobody's lucky, and then everybody's in a specific place because they chose to. Then you'll change your perception of the world and think like, I am here where I am now because of the action which I took so far. So I can be in a different place if I take different action, but that's on me. So I have to take responsibility, which is very difficult for most people.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm totally agree with you.
Cool. So let's. You talked about the influence that your friends had on you. So just talk to me about that. How did your friends and family and people around you influencing you in starting the businesses, also within your travels? Because I presume that you've met a lot of interesting people along your travels, and you had a great deal of experience. So talk to me about the learning experience you got from people and how they supported you in your life.
Yes. If there is one really important thing when you start your own business or you decide to change your life, it's your environment. So this is fundamental, really. I understood it even more now that I'm an entrepreneur. So in general, all my environment really support me a lot. My family a bit less. My father is an entrepreneur, but he is quite traditional, so he struggles a bit, and that hurts a bit because it's not easy when you have people who don't believe in you. You feel it. Even if they try to hide, or you feel it. And this is what you don't need when you start a business. You really need someone who is pushing you, especially when you are in the downs. In the downs moment, you really need someone who supports you and pushes you. So in general, I'm really lucky, because I'm not lucky because I choose the right persons around me, I would say. So they supported me since the beginning, and I'm so glad about that, because in those moments when you want to give up, you need someone to elevate you and who can bring you back to the fight.
Don't agree with that. And I want to highlight also the fact that having a good network is not a dimension of luck. It's a dimension of building it yourself.
Exactly.
So it's very important for you to trial your network very closely, because there is an old saying that says you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And that is very true. That is very true, because it manifests in so many ways in your life.
That's crucial. And I actually was working on cleaning a bit my environment before. And then when I started with Andiamonos, was like, okay, now I perfectly know who I want close to me, and the rest, you just try to invest your time with people who worth, but not just for your business in general. You need good energy. It's normal to being. It's normal. Maybe you in that precise moment you are facing some kind of negative moment, so you need some support from your friends, and you are there to support them as well. But it's true that the energy, the energy of the people in general is really crucial.
Absolutely.
In general, yeah.
Totally do agree with that. And it's very important to trial your network very carefully. I can just give you a few examples of the principle I have when I choose my friends and people around me. It's like I don't like people who complain about stuff. I don't like negativity. It's like, oh, the weather. And I lived in London for a long time, and it is like the most common thing ever. People complain about the weather. So like, and I was thinking very recently, if you spend time all the time around people who complain about the weather, you're gonna be really good at complaining about the weather. You're gonna know all the words, you're gonna have all the vocabulary, you can know everything. And I was thinking like I don't want to have those people around me. I want to have people who think about solution and accept the thing they cannot change and just change the thing they can change. It's like I need people who do not whine all the time. Think about, okay, it's raining. What can I do? I can take the car, I can get the umbrella, and just find a solution to be able to overcome the obstacle, as opposed to just complain about it. Because once you complain about something, you make yourself helpless in that situation. And it's like, I can't do anything. Is that false? So that way I'm terrible in this situation. So there's nothing I can do. And then you take away your power from yourself.
It's true. It's totally true. Yeah, you got to the key point. Yeah, it's important, really important.
Absolutely. Another thing that I have is responsibility. I encourage people all the time to take responsibility for the actions, and then I have this principle of extreme ownership, which means that everything that happens in your life is your fault. It's a bit extreme. I understand that. But my principle is that every time you point fingers to something else, you take away power from you. And if you say, like, this person didn't do the job, this person did the job, it's like, yes, sure. But like, what could you do better in order to improve that? Because if everything is anybody's fault, that means there's nothing you can do to improve the situation. Which, again, you're helpless.
No, I think, you always have some kind of responsibilities when things are happening around you or in your life. So of course, I think you can control it. Almost everything. When you can control it in the few cases when you can control the situation, you just should try not to stress about it because you can control it. But in the rest, I think
as an entrepreneur, working with people is a big thing, whether it's contractor or people that you employ. And then every time when somebody that I work with doesn't do their job, it doesn't happen very often, but when it happens, I'm thinking about, did the person understood the assignment properly? Did I explain it properly? Did I give all the time and resources that person needs? It's like, was there anything that I could have done better? As opposed to being upset with the person the first time it happens, like, hey, did you understand? Like, was I clear? Was I useful enough? Was I giving you everything that you needed? And then I understand what can I do better in order to be able to make sure that doesn't happen, as opposed to just being upset with the person, because that's not going to solve my problem.
Yes, and also it's a way to, and it is really important in life in general, and also when you are an entrepreneur, to keep yourself humble. It's like, okay, the other person maybe is not doing the correct thing, but did I explain it right, or maybe it's my fault also. Maybe you don't. For me, it's important also to question oneself and try to understand if there is something you can improve, because you can always improve at the end, and you can always learn. So also stay humble. For me, it's also important in the process.
I think that's a great mindset. And every time when I approach a conversation with people, this principle, which is really good, is like, every person I talk to knows something that I don't. So as opposed to being arrogant, they show them how I know better things. I prefer to, like, okay, let's find out what they know better than me and learn that thing.
And honestly, for me, there is nothing better than learning from people. I'm really happy when I can hanging out or meeting people who can teach me new things. It's like, it's a treasure. So it's really important. And it is also stimulating. So
absolutely. I want to talk a bit about motivation. We mentioned this before, that sometimes you're an entrepreneur, sometimes it's just motivation. So I want to see from your personal experience, when you started working on your business, you're very full of passion because it's exactly what you want to do. But sometimes you hit like dead ends, you hit like obstacles. How did you keep yourself motivated in such situations when you want to go to chase your passion, but it seems like it's impossible to get there?
Yes, here again, I should talk about the environment. I think it's really crucial, because sometimes you just can't find the energy. And the one thing I try to do is in those days, I feel that I can't keep going. maybe it's better just to close your computer, go outside, do some sport, connect with people, go with your friends and do something else. And I think doing other activities not related to your business can help, like finding again the motivation, because the motivation can be always at a high pace. Sometimes it just falls, and it's when it's really important to be surrounded from people who support you, because in that moment you really need them. So this is something I really noticed, that in that moment we think we can handle everything by ourselves, but sometimes we just need some help. And it's also important to understand you can ask for help. It's something I really understood and learned when I started my path as an entrepreneur, because before, for me, it was almost impossible, really hard to ask for help. And it was it was not the right approach, but I was like that. I don't know. And I completely changed. Now, when I feel I need some help, I just ask, can you please support me? Because I'm like falling down. I need some nice word or something different. I don't know. I just need to find the motivation again. And yes, and people are ready to help. If you build a nice network, the nice environment, they are ready to help and they are happy to help you.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
very interesting what you mentioned about asking for help, because I think it's an adult thing. We all have some degree of the imposter syndrome, that we feel like you should know everything. And then you feel like, oh, I can't ask this because I should know it. I can't ask this question because I should know. And I was blessed enough quite recently to spend some time around kids. And kids don't have that. They just ask anything. Even the stupidest or the smartest question they come to mind is just ask anything because they want to know. They're curious. They have this childlike curiosity. And that's something interesting, because we lose that as adults, and become like, I shouldn't ask this, I shouldn't say this, oh, maybe I should know this.
It's really interesting. We lose a bit this spontaneity, and we think with the pride. But the pride is like, sometimes you just don't need it. And we should be a bit more spontaneous, like kids. Of course.
Absolutely. I don't agree. And that's something that happens to me as well when I started my entrepreneurial business, is that you realize how little you actually know. So I think it's very important to not lose these periods and then keep it going, even no matter how big you are and how big you reach as a company and as a person. You should have this kind of level of asking people questions, especially the ones that you feel like they know better than you, and be open to the answers.
Sure, totally. And also asking questions make the other person feel like you are interested and you want to learn, and it also builds some kind of connection with the other person, no? And as you are showing interest, and it's also important when you are speaking with people, because you can always learn something. So
Absolutely. One thing I want to highlight an experience that I had regarding asking questions. When I would start working with clients, one thing that I was very afraid of to ask questions is because I felt like I should know everything. And then what I realized, I just kind of started asking questions more and more and more. And then the opposite of what I expect to happen happened. So I expect people to think that I'm an idiot and that I don't know anything. But what actually happened is, like, people felt like I was really interested into what they do. And I was really interested into understanding properly. So I was asking even the most I don't want to say stupid, but like, what was it? Common question that I could think of. And then every single person I talked to, asked them later, how did they feel? They feel like I actually wanted to understand properly to really get to know what's happening and make sure that there is no misconception. And that's a good advice I can give to everybody. You might think that's a stupid question, sure, but the other person might perceive the fact that you're really, really interested into understanding something profoundly, and not just like superficial level, just nods, like, smile and wave, like you understand everything, and then you end up not knowing anything. It's like, oh, what do I do now?
Yes. No, that's important. The power of behind questions and interactions, I think it's really important. Yeah.
Cool. I want to ask another question now, which is, what advice would you give yourself after you've been through this experience of starting your business? What advice would you give to your former self before you started? Like, the one thing that would you like to keep in mind before?
Before, I used to have more free time. So I was really present in everyone else's life. I was so present. And right now, I understood some months ago that I can't go on like this. I mean, of course, I'm always there if some friend or family needs me. But it's true that you have to select a bit how you spend your time, because you have to focus a lot. So if you keep doing all the things you were doing when you were an employee, I think you struggle a lot to go on with the business, because you don't have enough time. So I think it's not like my advice is not like you have to be more selfish. Of course, no. It's important to remain in that network and connected with people, because it's also important for your mental and physical health. But it's also true that you have to maybe select a bit how you spend your time. And yeah, this is something I'm struggling a bit, and I think it's important. It's important in terms of keep growing, and yeah.
Yeah, sounds very interesting. And I would like to challenge a bit of the point that I don't think that prioritizing your time is necessarily selfish. I think it's just a matter of using the time where you're the most functional and the most useful in that situation.
Yeah.
One of the things that people think that if you take time for yourself or like for self-care, that means selfish. But like, I don't think that at all. I think that if you take care of yourself, I will be better off caring for others after I take care of myself. Like, I can't feed people if I'm hungry. That's the very basic
Exactly.
principle. So I need to make sure that I have enough food for my table, and then I can give more to others. But if I'm hungry, I'm just going to die in a couple of days. I'll be no use to anybody. So it's very important to take care of yourself with the purpose of taking care of people in the long run, as
Yeah.
opposed to just giving yourself to every single person that asks you around, and then you don't have enough time for yourself, and then you're going to collapse sooner or later.
This is something my coach told me at the beginning. It was like, okay, if you are unhealthy yourself, your mental condition is not healthy, and you are not taking care of yourself first, you won't be able to run any business, because at the end, the business is yourself. So you are behind everything, and yeah, you have to take enough time to take care of yourself. That's really important. Really important.
Absolutely. Right. So, last questions. Do you have any advice for anybody who is thinking about starting a new business now? What would you say to them?
Be patient. Be really patient, and don't give up. Surround yourself with people with a high value and people who support you, because you will need them, especially in the downs moment. And yeah, just keep going, and try to stay focused, but also take care of yourself, or your free time, your mental health, your physical health. It's really important. Otherwise, you can keep going. You are not a machine. So at the end, you have to take care of yourself and your environment to go on. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think this is the best ever advice that I ever received from anybody, because everybody's saying like, you need to do your research, you need to do X, Y, and Z. But I've read into the statistics, and it says like 90% of the businesses fail the first year. And exactly for the reason which you said, people think in the short term, I'm just going to start a business, I'm going to make money right away. And if they don't have patience, and if you think about the business, the only lasting business is going to be the one that you think about long run, and you are patient until you see the results.
Yeah.
I think it's, sorry, go on.
No, go. Sorry.
So I think it's that one of the best things, if not the best thing you can have in your mind when you start a business. Like, don't think that you're going to see right away the results. Just think about, do what you love. Make sure that you get some income in return, just be able to pay your bills. But like, if you keep doing what you're doing and you deliver value to people, eventually you're going to go big. But you have to be able to do that without seeing the results first. And that's a very difficult game to say.
Yes, totally. The thing is that we are used to, everything is so fast nowadays. You want to buy something, you buy something, and they deliver it at home. You want to find a partner, you go on Tinder, and you want to. I mean, everything is so fast, and we are not used anymore to fight for our dreams. You have to be patient, really patient. That's something I think in the long term, you can see the results. But yeah, it's time, it's dedication, it's patience. So just keep going, don't give up, and surround yourself with the right
Absolutely.
minds.
That's a great way to finish the podcast with, like, if anything doesn't show up, just be patient, and
Yeah.
the results will come sooner than later.
Yeah. If you are working for it and you really love what you are doing, I think the results will arrive. But yeah, not immediately.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Monica, for your time. It's been great talking to you.